Seattle News Weekly from Fox 13.
Welcome to Seattle News Weekly. I am Bill Wixey, and today we're putting the spotlight on a program that is taking theater arts into our state's prisons and detention centers, the Freehold Engaged Residency Program. It's been operating since 2003, and my guest today is Carter Rodriquez, who is an actor, an acting instructor, a musician as well. Anything else I should throw in there?
Oh, that's good enough for now.
Okay, and he has also been guiding the Freehold Theater program at the Monroe Men's Prison since 2009.
2009, I started as an intern the first year. And this program's been going on a lot longer than that. Robin Lynn Smith started the program at the women's prison in Purdy, WCCW.
Right. And that's still going on.
And that's still going on. And I think that her history with this work goes all the way back to working with Joseph Chaikin in Chicago a long time ago. I think that that's sort of the roots of it. And then she's brought it forward when she came to Seattle. And I think the Engaged Theater program itself was sort of rooted in the idea of theater reaching underserved communities because a lot of people can't afford an $80 ticket at ACT or whatever, and so we went to institutions, we went to Harborview, we went to homeless shelters, we went to tent cities, and a lot of places where people don't normally get to see theater. And I started off as an actor in a Shakespeare show with her in those days, and then a couple years later, George Lewis, one of the founders of Freehold, wanted to start a program at the men's prison in Monroe. He asked me if I'd be an intern. I went in and worked with him that first year. We went in with this idea about Shakespeare because Shakespeare parallels all of our lives in some lovely way. And we started working on a Shakespeare scene, and it was the tent scene from Julius Caesar, and George was having a discussion after we read the scene with some inmates, and he said, "Can you imagine conspiring to kill your best friend to save the state?" And one of the guys said, "Well, I don't know if it's the same as that, but one time me and my friend were playing with a gun when we were drunk, and the gun went off, and I didn't know if it shot him or me. Turns out it shot him." And we were driving back home that night, and George said, "I don't understand Shakespeare. That guy understands Shakespeare."
Right?
You know, it was pretty amazing moment. And we went in the next week, and one of the guys said, "Shakespeare's great, but we also have stories." And we completely changed course, and we started working on them writing their own stories and finding out how to devise an original piece that they create themselves based on their lives or whatever they needed to express.
And that's exactly what you're doing right now.
That's
in
correct.
Monroe, right? You have a group
Yeah.
there, and you were in the writing process. So give us an idea of what that looks like.
I usually start off with about 20 people who sign up, and I usually end up with about a dozen. Everybody gets a notebook, and I'm really there to give them permission. So I go in and I'm like, I don't care about grammar or spelling or anything, and I just get them used to the fact that they can put the pen down. We work with free writing exercises. I have prompts. I work with poetry. And then I do improv games with them, and we do physical theater games, and I work a bit with Viewpoints, which is a program that was Anne Bogart developed originally for dancers. It's an awareness of the stage, so you have this sense of how the stage needs to be composed. A lot of theater directors use it as a cheat code for blocking and stuff like that, but I get them used to being seen.
Right.
And what it is to actually take stage, and then I take all of that writing, and I think over the course of 8 or 9 sessions, they can produce, a dozen guys can produce somewhere around 300 pages of original written material. I take it away, I cut it into a script, and I come back and we start rehearsing it. And it's usually some sort of a variety show. There'll be some scenes in it. It could be anything. It just depends on what everybody brings to the table. Because I asked them all at the beginning, who can beatbox, who likes to rap, who likes to dance, who thinks they're funny. And so I try to play to all their strengths. I never go in like, okay, you're in prison, we have to tear your soul open and, you know.
And these guys
That's
all want to
built
be in it, right? I mean, these are guys who've come in and said, I would like to be part of this thing. I'm sure word has gotten out over the years that this is happening, and you do the performance in the end for the whole general population, right? And family and friends?
That's correct. We usually do 2 performances. One will be for other incarcerated people, and one will be for guests that come in, and Freehold brings in some guests, and a lot of them will have family visitors come in. So usually we end with 2 shows.
Okay, I was asking you about the movie Sing Sing. Came out last year. It was nominated for an Oscar, and it's about a prison theater program at Sing Sing, and the through line is how it improves relationships and then transforms the inmates. Is that kind of what you see in the work that you're doing at Monroe?
Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of people.
First of all, I can't believe you haven't seen Sing Sing.
I haven't seen Sing Sing.
Okay, that's number one on your
That's
list.
on
Now
me,
you
Bill.
need to see this
I
film.
should have seen Sing Sing, and you're not the first person to tell me about it. So I'll probably watch it tomorrow.
Okay, but in terms of like what the inmates get out of it, like
back to what you were saying about Sing Sing, or what I think you were saying about Sing Sing is. There's as many different kinds of people that are incarcerated as there are people that are incarcerated. And a lot of them have to cross cultural boundaries that they wouldn't cross anywhere else inside the institution or outside the institution. There are people who would never talk to each other, but they have to come together to create this piece. And they have to get over whatever that difference is. And for example, we were doing a closing interview with one of them one time. And he said, I ended up being a cellie with somebody from a rival gang. And they had a pact that they were just like, we will never talk. And we will never even acknowledge the other person, just so that it doesn't go towards, something violent or whatever that is. And the guy who was in our program was in there working on his script, trying to memorize his lines for days. And his rival gang member cellmate couldn't handle it, and he was like, what are you doing? And he explained the program to him, and the guy ended up running lines with him and helping him memorize. And this is an unexpected, I guess, benefit of the program, is that everybody has to cross something that they would normally a cultural boundary they normally wouldn't cross to connect with somebody else who's in the program.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is, because we have every kind of person you could imagine.
Well, I mean, to that point, I mean, Monroe houses some of the state's most notorious criminals. I mean, and there are guys in your group that have committed murder or have been convicted of committing murder.
Absolutely.
Child rape, pornography. I mean, really serious offenses. I can only imagine that there must be tension at times in the group. I mean, these are some pretty hard guys sometimes.
Absolutely. And to be clear, I have never felt in danger ever.
Never.
Never. Not one time. I've only felt gratitude for the fact that I'm there. And, one of the gentlemen said when we were doing a closing interview, he said, nobody shows up for most of us, and you say you're coming, and you show up. That's all he got out of it. I think he got a lot more than that out of it, because he was an amazing performer, but he's like, you're showing up for us, and nobody shows up for us, which is amazing in a way, It's its own thing. But yeah, they have to cross all those, I know that there are people in there who've done things that I don't even want to know what they've done, because I have my own prejudices, and I need to treat all of them equally also. And the other thing is, a lot of people don't think about this. Most of those people will be released someday. They're going to get out of prison someday and be out here with us. And so I think in sort of Robin Smith, the founder of Freehold, sort of bigger vision is that we're always trying to deepen our humanity. And what I can tell you about incarcerated people is that they're no different than almost any of us. And I am very aware that I just got a little bit more love along the way that sent me down a path that's very different than their path. And they're as smart, as funny, and I mean, I'm telling you, I've had English professors in there, and I've had hardcore gangsters in there, and they have to come together to create a piece, and they have to see the humanity in each other and find a respect for something that's deeper than their crime to create this piece, you know?
Right. And so what is the process? I mean, where does the material come from? And as guys are exploring the stories they would like to tell, what are they coming up with, and what is that process actually looking like?
Right. They can come up with whatever they come up with. I just go in there and give them a lot of permission to do whatever they want, and that there's no wrong answers, and there's no wrong way except for not to do it.
Do they get into their personal stories, or potentially the crimes they committed?
Some don't. Some I do a little metaphor workshop, so some of them have a story to tell, and if we couch it in a metaphor, they feel a little bit safer. For example, I don't know, it was a poetry prompt, and it was write a recipe for forgiveness. Excuse me. So one guy, we ended up making this segment that looked like a cooking show from, I can't remember, some famous chef. And this guy was doing an impersonation of this chef, but he sort of revealed his own path to forgiveness through getting to imitate a chef. It was absolutely hilarious. And it was deep and touching at the same time. He just needed a metaphor so that he could feel safe to do it.
And so guys are finding like, and making personal discoveries, finding parts of themselves that they didn't know existed.
Yeah, I don't know what they know. I think that some part of them knows it, but some part of them just needs permission to talk about it. I don't think they can talk about a lot in there that's too deep. And I could be wrong. I don't know. I really don't know what the conversations that they have amongst each other are inside. I know that a lot of people are wearing a lot of armor, and I give them a safe space to take the armor off as much as they can and reveal what they need to reveal. And we just keep creating a safe space for them to do what they need to do. And some of it goes right to the crime. Some of it doesn't. Some of it is their own poetry. Some of them are already brilliant writers. Some of them don't understand grammar at all. And I don't care. I can still get a story or get out of them whatever they need to contribute. And they get to contribute as much or as little as they can. And they can support each other. And it can take any number of appearances, I guess, or types of performance. Yeah. The final show, so we go in, everybody gets a notebook, and I just get them free writing. I give them poetic prompts. We do little writing workshops. And I get them used to just putting stuff on the paper. And a lot of them want to talk about things. So I'm like, just start writing, just start writing, just start writing. So the free writing rule. You've probably done some of it.
Sure.
Where you got to put the pen down and you can't take the pen up until you're done. Or until I tell you you're done. And it doesn't matter if you don't know what to write about. You got to write about how it feels to not know what to write about. Right. And usually some gold comes from that, or they'll surprise themselves and make a discovery.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Yeah, it really is. And I know for me, my best writing usually comes when I don't want to do it. That's usually when my best work happens, is when I make myself get in there and do it.
But these guys, I think, do want to do it, right? I mean, like you were saying, it's a space, a safe space for them to come in, to be able to express themselves, to be accepted, to be heard. And I think from what you're telling me, it sounds like this is a space where guys would want to get in, because in prison there are outlets like this, and this is one of them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And for some of them, writing down their feelings is scarier than committing a crime, or being tough, or being violent, or being whatever, Like, that's a scary place, because I think a lot of them were never allowed to do that, and that's part of the reason you have to put on all the armor, or you have to survive. And I would say at the root of most of the stuff people are doing in here, there's some element of survival.
Right. And so when you talk about, in acting we talk about, raising the stakes.
Yeah.
And the stakes are raised for these guys really high in real life already. I mean, they've lived that for a long time. And I just imagine out of this process, you get some pretty incredible acting performances too, right? And writing.
I I assure you, I'm not saying this to hype the program. It's the best theater I've ever seen. The final performances uh, yank more tears out of people's face than, and and it's not always just because the stories are real to them. Uh, it, they have to overcome so much to do it that it just has a sort of realness that you don't get, I think, almost anywhere else. And not a dry eye in the house. Almost every show. And even amongst them. And then when they cross the finish line and they've put this thing together, the way that they come together with each other, and they're like, and like I say, we always have a question and answer at the end of the second show or after every show. And they're like, I would never talk to this person out there. You understand? I would never come near this guy. And now we have this thing that we've done together, right? So, yeah, they're it's the best theater I've ever seen, and this is what I do.
That's
I'm a
so
theater
powerful.
artist,
They're physically getting a bound book of this show that they put together,
Yep.
right at the end.
Yep.
And like intrinsically, what are they getting out of it? What do they tell you when you have these exit interviews with them about?
everybody has their own version of that, and it's like, and I find this all the time, more and more. Even being a teacher, you have to reach every student where that student is, which I think is one of the most difficult and effective things about being a teacher. And they all get what they get, and there's as many different things that they get as there are people that are doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
They
definitely
all had
does.
to overcome their own thing. And, some of them are born performers, and they can't wait to get in there and just let it go. And for a lot of them, they're just like, oh, I have to pull it back and make space for other people that are shy. And
Right.
for the shy people, they have to overcome a different thing. So who knows what it is? Some people are just like, I have to talk about my crime because I have to. And some people are like, nope, don't need to talk about it. I want to talk about something else. And I'm going to sing a song about my community, or, it's sort of a variety show,
Yeah.
It goes from a sort of a choreographed thing, and then there's individual stories that come up and group pieces, and I never know what's going to come out. There'll be some beatboxing and some rapping, or there'll be one guy got up and he gave a sermon like a preacher one time, with everybody gathered around as if it was church, and we don't know where it's going to go. It all at some point I start looking for themes to emerge. And then I'll sort of sprinkle crumbs on the path towards that theme in the writing so that we have a concept. So what it came up one time with one guy. He's like, we play chess just by shouting the spots on the chessboard to each other. So we get to play chess even though, we don't actually get to be in the same room playing chess. And then working on the viewpoints is we sort of break the stage up into a grid as one of the forms inside of viewpoints, which is one of the techniques I use to get people on stage. It's already sort of its own chessboard. So the theme that year, it was called Pawns to Kings, and the chessboard was the metaphor. The last show we did, it was called Everything Counts, because if I see somebody acting goofy or doing something, or I'm like, I'm going to use that in the show. And they're like, no. And I'm like, everything counts, you know what I mean? And then because it's something they sort of want to do, but they're stuffing or something. So that kind of became the theme last time. And we've had numerous themes.
What do you get out of the work? Is there like a pearl that you've taken out of this into the rest of your life?
Oh, I think, to be very personal about it, my mom is a lifelong mental health professional and started off as a social worker, and she has forever been giving back to the community and trying to lift people up. and doing what she calls God's work. And, and I've always wanted some path to do that, to volunteer somewhere, to give back, to do something that, in the acting world can be very insular, and we're all trying to hype ourselves and push ourselves out there and compete and all of that stuff. And to know that there's some way that it actually does deepen our humanity beyond whatever a playwright's original vision was, that it's not about me out there trying to be an actor, it's about the greater good of everybody. And the second I realized that I was no different than these guys, and none of us are, I assure you, none of us are any better or any smarter or any more clever or creative or funny or talented than any of these incarcerated people. We really aren't. They just ran into some circumstances in their lives that sent them down a path, and if we can see the deeper person behind all of that, it's good for everybody. And I know that there are diagnostic mental health issues and other things that also contribute. So I don't know, but what I get out of it is getting the focus off of me and my art, because that gets real tedious sometimes.
Yeah, building something great. I think that's really just powerful perspective. Carter Rodriquez, thank you so much. This has been an enlightening conversation, and we could go on and on.
We could go on and on. Thank you so much, Bill. I really appreciate you.
And by the way, Freehold offers all kinds of theater classes at the studio in Seattle, offering acting. You can take acting with Carter, improv, stage combat, clown, stand-up comedy, playwriting. I just wrote my first play.
Yeah.
I learned to do it there.
Nice.
And, it's just a bunch of people, supportive, collaborative environment, and folks finding their artistic voice, and that's all it's about. And it is a nonprofit. Donations are accepted and encouraged. And for more information and to donate, go to freeholdtheater.org. Again, Carter, you're the man. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. And don't forget, new episodes of the Seattle News Weekly podcast every Thursday. You can watch them on the Fox Local app, fox13seattle.com, or the Fox 13 Seattle YouTube channel. And you can listen anywhere you get your podcasts. We will see you again next week.
Seattle News Weekly is available wherever you get your podcast.